And welcome back to another amazing week of fasting. That's right, we are at it again. And just so glad that you're here. Hey, I am so excited when I get questions from people because I love answering questions. If you know anything about me, that's one of my favorite things. And one of the questions I always get is, what is the difference between intermittent fasting and extended fasting? And why do you do extended fasting? And we're going to spend some time talking about the differences between intermittent fasting and fasting, extended fasting, because as you know, it has taken the health world by storm. Everybody's talking about fasting. Everybody's doing it. In fact, I went to see someone recently who had really just picked up and started fasting. A whole interesting conversation that we had there. And even on social media, you're seeing people who are talking about the fasting that they're doing and the amazing success that they're having. And so here in the space tonight, in this episode, I want to make sure that we address some of that. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, we are living a limitless life. And the limitless life said that we are not allowing anything from outside, anything from inside of us to prevent us from doing what we need to do for our health. We are presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans for our life. We're taking it to the next level. If you're new to me, go ahead and put that new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music and let you know that we're glad that you're here. Also, if you have questions, go ahead and put that in the chat because I want to make sure that I get to those as we are moving through the space this evening. If you've been with us, you know how we do. And if you've not, you'll see I've got next to me my meters that we're going to take a look at here in just a minute. I've got my Keto Mojo and I've got my Contour. And then, of course, right below me, that is my Dexcom Clarity Report, which we'll take a look at here in just a little while. If you've not been following, I shouldn't say if you've not been following, I hope you have been following us on the channel because we are in the middle, actually a little bit beyond halfway in our 100-day walk to consistency. It's an amazing time where we spend 30 minutes in the morning, and 30 minutes in the morning, and we're walking, right? We're building a pattern that helps us to set ourselves up for health, wellness, success, and benefit, improving our metabolism. It's an amazing opportunity for you to set some time aside to be consistent. There's that word. So consistency is key to all that we do in our health space. And actually, if we extrapolate that, it extrapolates to all of our life. If we are consistent with the things we're doing, we're going to get the benefit that we want. If we are consistent with not doing them, we get that other benefit, which is not really what we are looking for. So consistency is key. And the 100-day walk to consistency and health gives us an opportunity to set up a schedule, a defined, predetermined time, a time that we've blocked off specifically to do something for ourselves and for our health. So make sure you join us. Like I said, we are on day 58, 59 now as we head towards day number 100. We're past the halfway mark, and you are not too late to jump in and join that. You can go back and watch the previous episodes. You can pick up where we are right now. I had someone recently say, hey, I caught you on day 45, and I've gone back now, and I'm following with each of the days. Okay? So make sure you do that. And then, of course, here in this space right now, what you've stumbled upon or been invited to, or what you have found is us in the process of using another one of the tools that we are learning in order to right our metabolism, to improve our metabolism. At the top of the show, I did not say that I am talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes. Let me pause there. That's right, I used the word reverse. But not only those people, but remember that diabetes is the prototypic metabolic disease. So it is one of the diseases, probably the extreme of the disease along the spectrum of metabolism. So starting with coronary artery disease and obesity, fatty liver, hypertension, high cholesterol, polycystic ovarian syndrome, of course, metabolic syndrome, and all of those are diseases on the spectrum in metabolism. And if we are going to be healthy, we're working on reversing diabetes, but the same things that we do for diabetes also extrapolates to all the other diseases along the spectrum. So, so that gives you kind of a backdrop, and there are two tools that we're using right now: the 100-day walk to consistency and health, and of course the fasting that we're doing, and we are walking through all of that. We're walking through all of that on our show. Limitless living is the theme for our show this year. Okay? All right. So I am now, let's see, 7, 8, 9. So I am now 26 hours into this week's fast. 26 hours into this week's fast. And I'm going to show you what my blood sugars are here in just a little while. If you think you know what my ketones are going to be, go ahead and start putting that in the chat, and we'll come to look at that in a minute. So once again, a quick thumbnail. The reason we're doing what we're doing, the reason that I am in this space, is we are working to reverse diabetes. We're talking about how do we improve our metabolic health, how do we get people off of medication, how do we help them along the journey of setting themselves up for the best possibility of reversing many of the metabolic illnesses that we have. Okay, and you've heard me say over and over that there are over 1 billion people on the planet right now who have either pre-diabetes and diabetes, not even considering the ones who have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, the ones who have had heart attacks, who've had strokes, who are at risk for coronary artery disease, and on and on and on and on. That is a huge swath of our population. And so in this space, that's what we're doing. We are working to improve and working to get better. In the fasting, we're doing a 72-hour fast, and we'll talk more about that as we get into the discussion for this evening. And I'm doing a 72-hour fast, and right now I am 26 hours into this week's fast. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at a couple of things. The first we want to look at is, well, let me go ahead and let me do this. I'm gonna change a little bit. I want to say hi to some of our community members that I see out there before we hop into looking at blood sugars and so forth. And I do see some folks out there, so let's go ahead and say hello. And of course, I see Gian is in there. I think you were the first one. Hey, Gian, how are you? Glad that you are here. Thank you for joining us. She's saying, hi, Doc. Oh, let's see. There we go. Where did we go? There we are. She says, hi, Doctor. She says, hi, Dr. Woode gang. Love you. Welcome, welcome. And Joan said, Doctor, your yellow shirt is amazing. I like it. And I forget to take pictures of my lunch. Oh, so in our after the show, a couple of I think it's last week, we were talking about taking pictures and sharing some of the things that were going on in our lives. And so I think that's what you're referring to. And then Steve says, hello, gang. Gian said, hi, Steve, and welcome. Hi, Gian and Steve from Pamela. She said, Doctor, thank you so much for your warm heart and support. Makes me comfortable. It helps overcome my depression. I'm glad I can be a part of your journey. Glad I can be a part of your journey. And then Gian is saying, hi, Pam. All right, so let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at blood sugars. So the first which should come up there, and there you are, is this is my Freestyle Libre that you're looking at right now, and it says that my blood sugar is 84, and you'll see there going back, it's right here. Let me do it this way. So it's right here. So that white squiggly line that you see, that is my blood sugar, and you'll see starting from the left, that's about, I don't know, maybe 10 a.m. And then as we went throughout the day, it continues to drop. So we'll talk a little bit when we get into our discussion about some of the benefits of fasting, and that's one of them, right? So we see the blood sugar going down. Let's take a look at my Dexcom clarity, and this one gives me a broader view, and we can actually look at the numbers. So what we saw a minute ago in the Libre was actually something similar to this. And so we started out over here at 140, 150s, and then throughout the day have been coming down. And let's see if I can find a spot where we actually dropped below 100. So the first time we dropped below 100 was at 4 p.m. And at that time, let's see, 7 minus 3. So that was right at about 21 hours. Okay, and then we popped back up, and then been kind of straddling the 90s, and then now into the low 90s. Okay, so that's what you see there. If I go to 24-hour view, you'll see early yesterday, we were in the 90s, and then popped up to 120s, 140s, 150s, and that's what we just saw a little while ago. And this, right, this is the part of diabetes that is frustrating to some people, that here you'll see that my blood sugars actually were down to the 120s, right there. And I ate nothing and just got in the car and started driving to work, and you see now it's going up, 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 and I think it hit 151 was the high. Oh, there's 153 was the highest that it got, and then started dropping down. Okay, this spike that you see here is probably a combination of the dawn phenomenon, which, you know, your body pumps you full of hormones starting right about 3:30 in the morning. It's starting to get you ready for the morning, and so that will show up. But here, this is probably also a combination of that and toothpaste. That's right, toothpaste, because there's sugar in the toothpaste. So that's probably what you're seeing there. All right, so let's go ahead and so I've got that there, and then let's go and take a look at my monitors, right? So I've got my Keto Mojo, and I've got my contour monitor here. Let me go ahead and grab these here, and I need to make one change on my phone. And so once again, if you think you know what my ketones are at 26 hours, go ahead and begin dropping that in the chat, in the comments. Okay, so let's grab my. Let's come here. So I've got to get a test strip for ketones, one for blood sugar. I'm going to get a Lancet, and this is the one that I have started using. Right, it's a single stick. I'm not going to use this one anymore because it takes me longer to do that one. And then I just need to get a strip for the contour. So let's go ahead and grab that off. Get that one up here. We'll get this open. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in while I open the others. So get that in. Get this one in here. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to open the ketone one as well, so we can just have it off to the side. And we'll come back to that. And then here's my Lancet. So it's just a twist off, and you may be able to see. Yeah, there it is. You see that needle? There we go. There's a needle at the end of that. And I basically just find a finger, and the fingers I tend to use are 1, 2, and 3. I don't tend to use this or my thumb, right? And because I use these all the time, they are a little calloused, right? And I use them, and most people who are doing finger sticks use the same fingers because after a while it doesn't hurt as much. It still hurts, but if you use the lancing device and you get the spring loaded, it doesn't hurt as much. But I tend to not like those, and I'm going to see if this is getting me a good enough flow of blood. Let's see what we got. Okay, yeah, so that one came very nicely. So let's go ahead and get this started. Just got a good blood flow there. Well, let's see. Did that one start? Okay. Hopefully that's enough. And I have to keep this going because I need to get one for, get a drop of blood. Get that off of there. So 78 is what this guy says. This says 174. So I don't believe this, right? So I think what happens, I don't know if you can see that the blood did not go all the way down. You see that? See the little blue part at the bottom of the drop of blood? So it didn't go all the way down. So I don't believe that number. So we're going to go ahead and grab another strip. And I got to do this quickly before my blood starts to dry. Let's go ahead and do that, and we'll get see if we get another flow. And this time we'll get a good, okay. And so you'll see that it actually went all the way down this time. You see that? And so 81. Okay. So that's a perfect example of some things that can happen at home. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this out and get the ketones going. So when you're at home, right, and you're using these devices, you also want to use some judgment. So if your device is telling you one thing and you're like, well, I really don't feel that way. For instance, if you're on a continuous glucose monitor and it's telling you your blood sugar is one thing and you say, I don't really feel that way, then it's worth doing a finger stick or doing a second finger stick like I just did, right? So that you're like, okay, that does not make sense because all the other devices were saying one thing and that one was saying something else. So that's another way of doing that. So we're going to come back and we're going to take a look at the ketones here in a minute. Let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's get into our discussion for tonight. And so we're talking about intermittent fasting versus extended fasting. And the reason this came up for me, frankly, today is because I get a lot of questions about it. But also, a good friend of mine posted on, and I won't call her name, but she posted something on Facebook, and someone sent it to me on the Facebook Messenger about what she had posted. And so I thought this was a good opportunity to once again revisit fasting. So before we even get into the fasting versus intermittent versus extended fasting, the first thing to talk about is what really fasting is. And the reason that's important is because there is some misunderstanding for a lot of people about what fasting is and what fasting is not. Because whenever I tell people in fact, I don't readily volunteer anymore that I'm fasting, right? When people say to me, hey, they ask me what am I doing in terms of my weight loss, and I'll say, I finally found something that's working for me. That's something kind of generic. And if they're asking specifically about, okay, well, what are you doing? Then I'll get into the fasting. And the reason for that is when people first asked me, when I first lost my weight, and we were doing the shows and people were asking me, hey, what are you doing? And I would say, oh, I'm fasting, because I was excited. And as soon as I said the word fasting, right? As soon as I mentioned fasting, it was like their eyes glazed over. Or in their head, there was like this barrier, this wall that went up automatically. And it was in their mind, they were like, well, I can't do that. And so because they thought they couldn't do it, there was no more thought to hear more about fasting. Okay, and so when people ask me now, I say, I finally found something that works for me, and if they press, okay, what else are you? Tell me more about it. Then I'll go into what I'm doing in fasting. Okay, so and the reason that most people have that reaction is when they hear fasting, most people think starvation. Right? And fasting and starvation, not the same thing. So fasting is voluntarily abstaining from food. And as you know, in our space, we have been fasting from calories. No calorie intake. So that's what we've been doing in our fasting. So water, unsweetened tea, like in my cup right now, in my mug. I've got, let's see, do I have that bottle? I think I put it in the trash. But I have artificially sweetened tea. So it's the zero sugar tea. And I love it. When if I'm doing other things, like sometimes I'll do soda, and let's go back over here. Let's do this one. So I will, if I'm gonna drink soda, this is what I use, right? So I'm always looking for the zero sugar. You guys see that? Always looking for the zero sugar stuff. Anyway, that's. So no calories. So we've not been using any calories, and so they're working through that space. So voluntarily abstaining from food, that's what fasting is. Starvation is involuntary. So I'm not making that decision. I am starving because there's nothing around. There's no nutrient. Maybe there's a shortage. Maybe there's a famine. There's a storm. There is bad weather, and things were destroyed, and there's not supplies. That's what starvation is. Okay. The other concept to understand is the difference between fasting and reduced calories. Fasting and reduced calories. Now, people will say, well, they're the same thing, aren't they? Well, the fasting is reducing calories, but there is a big difference between the two. When I'm fasting, like I've been fasting for 26 hours now, there is nothing going in. There are no calories going in. And so my body doesn't have the option of saying, I'm going to store some of the things that you're eating, because there's nothing coming in. So rather than saying, hey, I'm going to store some of what you're giving me, the body now has to say, this isn't fasting, the body now has to say, oh, I got to go find food. And when I say find food, talking about in my body, where am I going to get that energy from? Where am I going to get those nutrients from? But when I am eating and I've simply reduced the calories, the body has access to that food that you're eating, and it doesn't have to go find food inside. And that has significant implications for how the body responds, what it does with the food, what it does in terms of our weight and our insulin sensitivity, and all the other downstream cascade things that we talk about. Right, so that's the difference between fasting and starvation, and the difference between fasting and simply reducing calories. It has to do with how the system responds to each of those. Okay. Now, as we talk about fasting, then so that's the difference. As we talk about fasting, then what is intermittent fasting and what is extended fasting, and how do they work? What's going on in them? So intermittent fasting, first of all, intermittent fasting is time-restricted eating, right? So we're restricting the time that we're eating during a particular day or a particular cycle. So intermittent fasting simply means that I'm having a period where I'm eating and then a period when I'm not eating. I'm eating and then I'm not eating. And it is a recurring cycle between those two, an eating period and a fasting period, an eating period and a fasting period. Okay? Now, that means then that there are things that we're going to talk about. There are strategies we're going to talk about that fit intermittent fasting, but also fit extended fasting. For example, if I fast for a week, and then I eat for a week, and I fast for a week, and I eat for a week, that is considered intermittent fasting, right? Because there's that cycle of periods of eating and fasting, but it also is considered an extended fast because it's beyond 24 hours, and we'll talk about extended fast here in a minute, okay? So time-restricted eating, where you're cycling between periods of eating and fasting, typically within a day, but the true definition simply means the cycling between eating and not eating. So you can have extended fasts that also fall into the idea of intermittent fasting. But here we're talking about less than 24 hours where we're cycling between eating and fasting windows. Okay? So there are some common types of schedules that people use for intermittent fasting, and the most common is the one that you see there listed at top. It's the 16 and 8, where we are fasting for 16 hours and we're eating during an 8-hour window. For example, if you stop eating, say you eat your last meal at 6 p.m., then 6 a.m. the next morning, that's 12 hours. And then 10 o'clock, right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 o'clock would be your 16 hours. And so you would start eating at 10 o'clock. And you have to eat all of your meals, whatever food you're going to eat. You have to eat it between 10 o'clock in the morning and by the time 6 comes back in the evening. Right? So 16 and 8. If you're doing an 18-6, right, it's the same thing. You stop eating at 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. the next morning is going to be 12 hours. And then 12 noon is going to be your 18 hours. And so you would start eating at 12 noon, and you'd have to eat all of your meals that you're going to between 12 and 6 p.m. Now, a couple of cautions here. Is that a lot of people do one of two things if they're not paying attention. Either they will say, you know what, this fasting thing is working, and if fasting is working, then if I supercharge it, I get better benefits. And so what they do is they do the 16 and 8, for example. Let's do that as an example. So 16 and 8, stop eating at 6 p.m., and they don't start eating until 10 a.m., but when they do eat, right, you're supposed to eat your meals from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. When they do eat, they significantly reduce the calories. Right? So they're supposed to eat the right amount of calories, but because they've reduced it further because they want to supercharge those 16 hours that they're fasting, what ends up happening is the body now senses that as simply reducing calories. And then it goes into that mode that we just talked about where it's saying, okay, I'm not going to go down the path of having to look for food, burning calories in the body. You're giving me some food, so I'm just going to reduce my metabolism to compensate. Right? So that's one thing people do. The other thing that people do is they say, well, they go to the other extreme. I'm fasting for 16 hours, and by God, when I get my 8 hours, they said I can eat. They never told me what I should eat, what shouldn't eat. So they just go in and they go at it. And so they end up during the 8 hours eating as much or more than they would in a regular day. Right? So either of those are extremes. We don't want to do that. So we want to eat an appropriate amount of calories during the 8 hours that we're eating, right? If it's a 16-8. Okay, other type of regimen or common schedules. So we got the 16-8, we got the 18-6. There is the 20 and 4. So this is called the warrior diet, where you're fasting for 20 hours and then you're eating during a 4-hour period. Now, I want you to notice something, that you can do lots of different variations of intermittent fasting. For example, we started at 16-8. You can do an 18-6. You could do a 19-5. You can do a 24. You can do a 21-3. You can do a 22-2, 23-4, right? So you can go through that process and you can change that up based on your calendar, based on your schedule. And we'll make a point about that here in just a little while. The other one is one meal a day. And so many people, you'll hear people say OMAD. Right, one meal a day. Basically, what they're doing is they're fasting for about a 23-hour period, and they're eating during 1 hour, but they're only eating one meal. So it's not like they're eating several small meals in that hour. They're only eating one meal. So OMAD is what that's called. And then the 5-2, right? 5-2, where we're fasting, we're eating normally for 5 days. So take a week, right? So 7 days in the week. So 5 of those days we're eating a normal meal like we normally would, 3 meals a day if that's your eating schedule. But then on the last 2 days of the week, we significantly reduce the calories, typically down to 500 to 600 calories, and we do that for 2 days. Okay, so that's another method of doing it. There's a thing called fasting mimicking diets, which you'll see out there. We're not talking about that here, but that's also another type of fast that you can do, where you're basically inducing the body to go into the state that it would go into when you're fasting, but you're not fasting. You're just eating foods that push the body in that direction. Okay, so these are some of the common schedules for the intermittent fasting. If you've been doing some fasting, go ahead and drop that in the comments. What are you doing? What's your schedule? If you're doing intermittent fasting, what is your schedule like? Which one are you using? 16-8, 18-6, 24, 24, OMAD, 5 and 2? Just drop that in the comments. Okay. And so what are the benefits? What are some of the benefits of intermittent fasting? Well, one, and this is in comparison to our regular eating or simply reducing calories, right? So we want to get the benefits of fasting. We want to get the benefits of this process that we're using. So what are the benefits of it? Well, one is it's sustainable for long-term metabolic health. So it's something that you can do. For a lot of people, many of the things they go through, the procedures they go through, are not sustainable, and so they do it for a while, and then they can't sustain it anymore. One of the places that I see, and I'm gonna get off of fasting for a minute. One of the places I see some of this is when it comes to dietary plans, right? So there's some dietary plans that are great to get that weight down, right? So they do a water fast, right? And you do a water fast or a liquid fast, and you do that for, 3-4 weeks, and the weight comes plummeting down. Okay, but it's not sustainable, right? It's an intense time where you're getting some of the benefits, but it's not something that people can do long term. Kind of that water-based fasting. It also, this is intermittent fasting. It also improves your insulin sensitivity and fat burning. This is the difference between fasting and simply reducing calories. And once again, this is for long term. So improve insulin sensitivity. So your body has to, during fasting, your blood sugars start going down. And when the blood sugars are going down, the insulin levels have to drop. And when the body has used up or is getting ready to use up all of the carbohydrates that are stored, glycogen, for example, then it turns to fat burning. And so we get that weight loss that we talk about during fasting. Okay? So intermittent fasting can be integrated into your daily routine. It's much easier to do a 16-8 fast than it is to do a 24-hour fast or a 48 hours fast or a 72-hour fast, right? Because a 16-8, many of us do 12 and 12 already. Or sometimes we do 16-8 because a lot of people, they eat their last meal in the evening and they don't eat breakfast the next morning. The first time they eat is at lunchtime. And usually that's about a 14 to 15, sometimes 16-hour period. And there are many people who actually do a one meal a day, not because they're thinking fasting, but just their schedules are busy and they end up not eating. And so they've already done a one meal a day. So there are all these different things that's going on. But intermittent fasting seems to be able to fit more and align more with people and their schedules. One of the reasons that people will have difficulty with fasting is because they will do a schedule that conflicts with their life. So the family normally sits down to eat at 5 o'clock supper, and they start their fast at 4 o'clock. Well, automatically that's some friction, right? Because we can already sit down at 5 and you start the fast at 4. So now there's friction between me, what I want to do for my health, and my community and my engagement with the family, and that does not go well. And so people say, oh yeah, this doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work because we have not done a good job of creating a fasting schedule that fits our routine. Right? So integrate it into your routine. It helps manage hunger over time. So when you first start fasting, and many of you can attest to that, when you first start fasting, that first time, you may not make it 16 hours. Even though you can normally, like sometimes, here's a kicker, right? There are times when you're not thinking about fasting or not thinking about food, and you'll go 16 hours. You'll go 18 hours without eating. But the moment it becomes a structured thing that you do, you're like, well, I can't fast because I'm hungry. Well, what about yesterday when you didn't eat until 9 o'clock at night because you were busy? Interesting point there, right? So it helps manage hunger over time. So over time, you'll begin learning. And one of the things that we do on Fridays when we do our check-in and we do our review of fasting, we talk about how to prepare for the fast. How do we get into the fast so that we're not getting some of these hunger pangs and so forth over time, okay? And then it reduces inflammation and supports cellular repair. This process is called autophagy. So autophagy is the process that the body goes through when it is doing cellular repair. It is taking broken, damaged, unused, misshapen cells. It's sending them to recycling, and it's reforming that, and it's coming back as a stronger, better, more resilient cell or component in the body. So that is the process of autophagy. The other thing that happens during fasting is that our inflammation in the body goes down. And as you know, a lot of metabolic disease has to do with inflammation. Inflammation causes, quote unquote, insulin resistance. And so fasting reduces inflammation, and it helps to support that cellular repair or the autophagy that we talk about. Okay? All right. And then, so those are the benefits. So the question is, who is intermittent fasting best for? Like what person? And the simple thing, people who are new to fasting, intermittent fasting is a good way to get into it. It's kind of like anything that you do, there are gradations. There are beginner levels, intermediate levels, there are advanced levels. And so for a lot of people, being in intermittent fasting and doing some of the shorter fasts is a great way to get into fasting. Right? So if you're new to fasting, intermittent fasting is a good way to do those. People who are looking for daily, consistent fasting rhythms. So one of the things I talk about is rhythm, alignment, and structure. Rhythm, alignment, and structure. Rhythm means the natural course that you've set up that is just rote, right? So the rhythm, so my rhythm is I get up in the morning, I exercise, I take my shower, and I go to work. And so there's a rhythm that's there. So I don't have to think about that. Right? So people who are looking for a consistent thing that they can just put in place. Okay, I stop eating at 6 o'clock at night, I start eating at 10. I stop eating at 6 o'clock, I start at 10. I stop eating at 6 o'clock, I start at 10. And that's something that they can do over and over and over, and they can do that on a daily basis. And then the other thing, people who want to lose weight without extreme restrictions. Right. And so the restriction, that is the reduction that we were talking about, where people are significantly reducing their calories. Well, that works for a time, but then the body says, hey, you're not giving me what I need, so I'm going to just slow my metabolism. But if you're doing the intermittent fasting, then that is a good way of getting into this process, and we get to see weight loss without having to do those extreme restrictions in our intake. And then people who are busy and their schedule doesn't allow them to do some of those longer fasts, and they just simply want structure. They want structure. They want some structured way of doing this. So intermittent fasting is a great way of doing that. Okay. All right. And then, so we talk about intermittent fasting, then extended fast. What is an extended fast? So an extended fast is when we're fasting beyond 24 hours. So once you go beyond 24 hours, you're in an extended fast. And that's the reason 1 meal a day, OMAD, is an intermittent fasting, right? Because it goes 23 hours typically. And then beyond 24 hours, we talk about extended fasting. And so this is 24, 36, 48, 72, 25 hours, in fact, is an extended fast. And there are even people who go longer than that. Here on the show, we've done a 96 hour, and I think we did a 106 hours. So was that 4 days or longer, right? So it is possible. So those are what are considered extended fasts. So what are the common ways that people do extended fast? So the most common, of course, is that 24-hour. Right? They set up a time where they stop eating. So 6 o'clock, and they don't eat again 6 o'clock at night. They don't eat again until 6 o'clock the next night. So 24 hours. Okay. And with a 24-hour fast, often people will do that 1 to 2 times a week. Now, here's an interesting thing about fasting as it relates to calorie restriction or calorie reduction, is we often tell people, in order to lose weight, you've got to decrease your calories by 500 calories per day. 500 calories per day. The average person eats between 1,800 and 2,000 calories per day. So that's the typical American diet, 1,800 to 2,000 calories. So let's make it 2,000 to make it even, right? So if I don't eat, so I'm fasting, I'm doing a 24-hour fast twice a week, so that's 2 days. And in each of those days, I would have normally eaten 2,000 calories, right? So that's a total of 4,000 calories. Make sense? Okay, so let's take that and let's put it off to the side. So 4,000 calories we haven't eaten this week. If I have someone who's reducing, simply trying to reduce their calories, and they're doing that 500 calories per day, right? So when they reduce their calories, then that's 500 times 7. That's 3,500 calories, right? So 5 times 7 is 35. So 3,500 calories. Now, notice that with my intermittent fasting, or my extended fasting, where I'm fasting twice a week for 24 hours, I've exceeded the quote-unquote calorie reduction that I'm being told to lose weight. And I don't have the side effects of simply reducing my calories and having my body, the metabolism of my body turn down. So my body is still working on a normal metabolism. As a matter of fact, my metabolism is ramped up. My metabolism goes up, and I'm not taking in that many calories. So I'm getting kind of double bang for my buck. So that's right. So that's an interesting thought as you're thinking about, okay, the benefits of one versus the other, restricting my calories or fasting. Right? All right. So 24-hour. There's 36 to 48 hours. So this helps to deplete the liver glycogen, and it triggers deeper ketosis. So the more you do, the longer you do, the more extended fast that you do, the easier it is to get and maintain ketosis. I shouldn't say easier, but you get into ketosis and it lasts longer. So you get bigger, deeper benefits long term from the extended fasts. And then, of course, 72 hours, maximizing autophagy, enhances cellular healing. So this right here is huge. So autophagy is, like I mentioned, that cellular cleanup process where the body is going out and is breaking down cells and is recycling, reclaiming damaged cells. This is an amazing place, right? When we get to this, 48, 72 hours, and autophagy is in full force. This is where we begin to see things like improved inflammation. So people who have rheumatoid arthritis. We have people who are having improvement in their neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis. Fasting has been shown to improve the response to cancer treatment. And this is where that begins happening. I should say begin. This is where it is intensified, because autophagy actually starts earlier, but it really gets full force as we get into some of the longer fasts. Right, so 72 hours, we got the autophagy, we've got the enhanced cellular cleanup, we have the healing that's going on, all of that improvement. And then 5 to 7 day fasts. So these are some of the longer fasts. And this is used for deep healing, gut reset, and longevity benefits. So there are programs where, hey, someone comes in and they've got to get to surgery, and we've got to do some major surgery, and they've got to get there soon. We can't take them right now because metabolically they wouldn't survive. Right? Often I get a question from people. They say, well, why won't my surgeon, because I'm a diabetologist, right, dealing with diabetes. They say, why won't my surgeon take me to surgery? It's because your blood sugars are so high. There's risk for healing. There's risk for complications. There's risk for death. So we want to improve those things before we go to surgery. And so to rapidly get those people ready for surgery, or get them to the point where they can go to surgery, then there are lots of programs that have protocols where they'll put them on a fast. Because we're trying to supercharge their body. We're trying to get rid of some of this metabolic disease process. We're trying to reverse a few things. We're trying to improve the blood sugar, insulin sensitivity. Blood sugars are better. We've got improving blood pressure, right? That's a huge one. So all of this is happening as we do some of those more extended fasts. So not who, but what are some of the benefits? Well, those are the benefits. What are some of the, who are the people that should use it? Right? So who are the people that should be thinking about extended fast? And those are people who are looking for deeper healing, deeper cellular repair, people who already have some metabolic dysfunction, right? And they're trying to deal with that as quickly as possible. Now, people ask me why I do a 72-hour fast. And part of the reasons I do a 72-hour fast is because as I'm demonstrating and as I'm explaining fasting, it's easier for me to explain fasting if you can see my blood sugars over 3 days. Because you get to see, for example, you get to see what's going on with my blood sugars. Let's go to this one. You get to see what's going on with my blood sugars beyond 24 hours. You get to see the dips, you get to see the spikes, you get to see whatever's there. And we'll take a look at my report here in just a minute. But actually, let me go to that one. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, this guy. Well, I thought I was on the right one. My report. Anyway, you get to see my report here. Just you get to see my report here in just a little while. Let's do this. There we go. Okay, and so we'll take a look at my report so you can see for days on end what's been happening with my blood sugar, and that's easier to show with a 72-hour fast. That's number one. The other thing is, if you go back and you look at my shows and you remember my history was such that my metabolic dysfunction was significant. Right? My metabolic dysfunction was significant. So I wanted to supercharge my healing process. And so it's not that I couldn't do a 24-hour or even continue doing an intermittent fasting or do a 36 hours or 48 hours. But when I was thinking about, okay, what do I need to do for my personal health? the best thing for me at the time was the 72 hours. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to keep doing 72 hours forever, which is a point we'll make here in just a minute. But it means that, okay, that at that time, that was what I thought was the best for me. Okay, so people who are looking for deeper cellular repair, people who are struggling with insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. They want deeper benefits. Not that the others can't work, but extended fasting is a great way to get in there, supercharge it, get it going, and you get deeper, bigger benefits from the longer fast. Also, people who want to reset their gut health and inflammation levels. So when you fast, as you get into the more extended fast, then well, let me back up. So in the intermittent fasting, in the shorter fast, your body will get rest, okay? Because if you're not eating for 16 hours at a time, so 16 and 8 or 18 6, during the 16 hours when you're fasting, your body is resting. And time-restricted eating is another concept where you are eating and fasting according to your circadian rhythm, right? So you normally go to sleep at 9 o'clock, and so you fast from 9 until you wake up, and then you eat during the time when you're up. So that's time-restricted eating, right? It's another discussion to have. But as you are as you're going through that process, then you can you will see that the gut is improving, right? So the gut is relaxing, the gut is resting. As you do more extended fast, think about the length of time that the GI tract has to rejuvenate, has to replenish. A lot of the bacteria that's in our gut is damaged because of the food that we eat and because of our lifestyle. Right? So the food that we're eating, we're constantly putting stuff in, and it damages the bacteria. So if I have a period of time, 24 hours, 36 hours, 72 hours, then the gut bacteria is being replenished. The goblet cells that are lining the GI tract that help to protect, they don't have to produce as much lubricant and protection. That's the reason why when we start eating again after an extended fast, we tell you to go slow. Reason being that when you start eating, all those cells, the GI tract has to wake up to begin processing again all the food that you're now putting in. Okay, so when you get into the extended fast, you'll have better gut health and improved gut health, and of course the inflammation that we talked about. And then the other group of people who should use extended fast are those who you have experience with shorter fasts, and you simply want to challenge yourself further. Okay. Those are people who should be thinking about doing more extended fasts. So how do you choose? How do you choose the fast? How do you choose which to do? Well, one, you want to consider who you are. Are you new to fasting? If you're new to fasting, I would recommend start with intermittent fasting. Okay, simple. And you get into the fasting, you get used to it, you see how it works, you begin noticing your body, how the symptoms are working, you begin seeing changes in your body, in your blood sugar, in your cholesterol, you're talking with your doctor. It is a great way to jump in and great way to begin moving there, right? Intermittent fasting also, you want to have a sustainable long-term habit. So I'm not looking for, hey, I just need to do this for the next couple of weeks, but I'm actually looking for something that I could put into my life, implement in my life, and I can do this forever. And intermittent fasting is one of those. You can do a 16-8 once a week forever. You can decide I'm going to do a 16-8 every day, except for, and once again, this goes back to scheduling. I don't want you to think of fasting in so rigid a term that, it's your birthday and you're like, well, I can't eat anything because I'm fasting. Well, let me not say that, because on my birthday, I'm going to eat some cake, okay? Just so y'all know. But you get the idea. It is a tool that we're using. It is a tool that we're using to improve our health. And so I don't want it to become so rigid that it causes mental distress and it causes friction and it causes relational issues. Right? But you want something sustainable. Intermittent fasting is a place to go. You're aiming for a steady fat loss and better energy over time. Right? So I'm not trying to lose 100 pounds today, but I want to lose weight, and I'm interested in continually losing weight as I learn. Here's a great idea. As I learn how to sustain that, intermittent fasting is a great place. Extended fasting, right? Extended fasting, let's just say EF there. You've hit a plateau. You've been doing intermittent fasting. Like before I started doing my extended fast, I was doing intermittent fasting, but I had hit a plateau. And for me, when I do extended fasting, the food noise goes away. Let me say that again. So I am a in recovery food addict. And when I am approaching fasting, when I get into the fast, the food noise goes away. The other days, when I'm not fasting, on my eating days, there is food noise. Now, there are so many mechanisms that we have learned, that we have tried, that we have implemented that helps deal with that. But during fasting, I don't have to worry about it. And I had hit a plateau. So if you've hit a plateau in your weight, in your blood sugars, in your cholesterol, in your obesity, in your fatty liver, and things were going, and then all of a sudden you're plateau, and you're doing intermittent fasting, then that might be a reason to say, okay, this week I'm going to do an extended fast and just jumpstart the process. If you're looking for deeper cellular repair, you've got Alzheimer's, you've got someone in your family with Alzheimer's, somebody who has multiple sclerosis, someone who has a neuropathy from whatever disease process they have. They have other issues that are going on. They're in cancer treatment. They have inflammation. They've got rheumatoid arthritis. Any of those things, and you're looking for deeper cellular repair, then I would consider an extended fast. And then, of course, you have experience with fasting, and you're just looking for a bigger challenge. You look, okay, what can I do next? Right, what can I do next? This is a great place to be. Okay. And then here's a pro tip. Your fasting journey does not have to be either intermittent or extended. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You can cycle between both approaches. So you can use intermittent fasting on a daily basis. Say, okay, I'm going to do a 16-8 every day, which is what I was doing. And then I'm going to, once a week or twice a week or once a month, I'm going to do an extended fast for 72 hours, 24 hours, whatever it is. So that you're getting the benefits of intermittent fasting on a daily basis, but then once a week or twice a month, you're doing a deeper fast, and you're getting the metabolic benefits that comes with a more extended fast. Okay? All right, and then here's some tips for both intermittent and extended fast. Number one, you want to prioritize hydration. Often people, when they are fasting, because they're not thinking about eating, they don't think about drinking either. And that can cause problems. It can cause electrolyte imbalance. It can cause dehydration. It causes dizziness, lightheadedness, all those things. In fact, recently I saw someone who had, I think, gone through this process. Wasn't thinking about drinking, wasn't thinking about electrolytes during a fast. Number one, prioritize hydration. Number two, break your fast wisely. When we talk about preparing for a fast, a lot of people, when they're coming into the fast, they're like, okay, I am going to go start fasting, so I'm going to eat all the stuff that I'm not going to be able to eat during the fast. I'm going to eat it right now. And that stuff sometimes has a lot of calories, has a lot of carbs, has a highly processed sugar. So they're eating cookies, candies, cakes, ice cream, right? Because they're thinking, okay, I'm not going to be able to get any for the next 24 hours or 36 hours, whatever the fasting is, or 16 hours. So I'm going to eat it now. Well, that has the effect of stimulating your appetite. And so now you get into the fast and you have difficulty maintaining your appetite because you're getting those cravings, and it's because you ate the stuff prior to getting into the fast. Make sense? The same thing on the other side. When you break the fast, if you eat stuff that's highly processed, high sugar, guess what's going to happen? Your appetite is going to skyrocket. And then what people say is, well, whenever I fast, I end up eating too much. Well, it's because of what you broke the fast with. So be careful with the fast. Okay. So don't use highly processed food. Instead, you want to reintroduce food like protein, fats, healthy fats, lean protein, vegetables. I typically break a fast with broth, right? And so that works for me. Listen to your body. So we're talking about tips for both intermittent and for extended. Listen to your body. If you feel overly fatigued, if you feel tired, lightheaded, dizzy, you may need to change your fasting strategy. Don't just plug away because, okay, I'm fasting. No, do listen to your body. Your body will tell you what's going on. And then track your progress. Use fasting apps. Use a journal, use your phone, track what's going on, track how your blood sugars are, track your ketones, track how you feel, right? Track how much water you're drinking. So what you're doing is you're creating a manual for your fasting journey. And you understand now how your body works. Had someone said to me today, he's like, hey, I've been fasting and it seems like I'm putting on, 1 to 2 pounds when I break the fast. And I said, okay, it's probably water weight. So you've fasted and you've lost weight. Part of that's water weight. So when you come back to eating, your body stores water for the food that it has to replenish. So your liver will store about 300 grams of carbohydrates, basically glycogen. And so for every gram of glycogen it stores, it has to store 3 grams of water. So you can imagine you get in there and you start eating some carbs and the body's storing that, but it stores 3 times as much water. And so all of a sudden my weight goes up, and goes up quickly depending on what I ate. Okay. So track your progress and then stay flexible. This is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Some people are going to do 1 meal a day. Some people are going to do extended fast. Some people are going to do 16-8. Here, as I said, the reason I do a 72-hour fast is not that everybody has to do a 72-hour fast. It's partially for demonstration so you guys can see what happens. First of all, see what goes on in my body. Number 2, see that it can be done. Right? So we're watching this real time. And last week, you guys heard, as I was telling you, that as I got into the fast, I was having trouble getting into the fast because there were all these external pressures, and my buffering behavior is food. And because of the external things, scheduling and getting off track and on my schedule and not being intentional about my daily routine, right? Everything was a jumble. And so the thing that I do to fix that in my head is food. And so I kept trying to get into the fast at the beginning of the week. So what I'm saying is you guys are seeing this real time as we're living this together. That's the 72-hour. And then my metabolic disease, right? I wanted to jumpstart the benefits of my metabolic disease, right? So it's not a one-size-fits-all. So you may be doing a 16-8, and that's fine for you. And that's where you can start. I recommend everybody, unless you have some reasons not to, some medical reasons not to, I recommend that everybody work their way up so they can do 1 24-hour fast once a week. Right, so wherever you are right now, right, you're 12, 12, 16, 8, 18, 2, 24, right? I recommend that everybody be able to work their way up or start working their way up. So you can do the 24-hour period once a week. From there, you can go wherever you need to, wherever you want to. But that's our goal. That's our goal for you. Okay, and then right. So final thought. So fasting is a powerful tool, but the key is finding what works best for you. Whether you stick with intermittent fasting for daily balance or use extended fast for deeper healing, the goal is metabolic health and sustainability. So the race is not given to the quick. The race is given to the person who can endure. And we're looking for consistency over time that allows us the benefit of all of that we're talking about. Awesome. All right. So let's see. Let's see who is out there. I think I saw some folks pop in. And so that was a question from Gian. Let's go back here. Hi, Steve. Hi, Pam. So, Doctor, what did you eat before fasting? What did I eat before fasting? Let me think back. Oh, wow. Okay. So yesterday for lunch, they ordered nothing but noodles, and I usually get the Santa Fe noodles with meatballs and steak. And I picked the meatballs and the steak out, and I ate that, and got rid of the pasta. So that was what I ate, and some cheese. And so that's what I ate coming into the fast yesterday. Yeah, I have to think about that for a minute. Okay. Gion says she thinks my ketones are going to be 0.7. Okay, I said that one. I think your blood sugar is low. Let's see. What are we? I think we're 85 right now. Let's go back over there. Yeah, we're 85. We're 85 right now. So Pamela says she used 18, so 18, so 16. So 16.8 is what she said. Okay. Gion says she uses one meal a day, and so she's binging so far. Okay, so she's using one meal a day, but she finds that after she comes off of the one meal a day, with the 23 hours probably, she's eating a lot more at the end. Okay, so one of the things there is consistency and progress, and we're looking for progress, not perfection. And be mindful of the things that you're using going into the fast, and of course mindful of the things that you're using to break the fast, because they will play a big part in what happens. So Gian said, even if I'm busy, I never forget to eat my meal. I get that. Steve says 0.7. So Gian says she's now easy intermittent fasting, but extended fast is so challenging because I have the habit of eating a lot and buffering with food in my whole life. Yeah. So buffering is a big issue, right? As I mentioned, that's my thing. So years ago, I got into a food recovery program, and as I said, I am not a non addict, right? So people say, "Oh, I used to have that." No, I have it currently, and addiction is of such that it is an ongoing thing, right? So it's not like you get over it and it's gone. No, it is you're constantly in recovery. Let's see. Doctor, even in my fasting stage, I have food noise so much. Yeah. So once again, it is a work in progress, right? So we got to keep going. And Gio says they are not go away in my fasting time. Okay, here we go. All right. So that's where we are. So fasting versus intermittent fasting versus extended fasting. So as we talk about our fasting and where we're heading, where we're going, remember that we're building everything on our Triple E formula for success. We are educating, we're empowering, and we're encouraging. Educating, empowering, encouraging. We educate with the shows, with the blogs, with the podcast, all of that. We empower with the tools that we're using. Walking, right? We're doing a 100-day walk to consistency. We're doing our intermittent fasting. We have our balanced bites that we've talked about, and you can go back on the show and on the channel and watch those. All of those are tools that we're using to implement the things that we're learning. And then we're encouraging with the community that you are part of. And as I say that, I'm going to go ahead and pop our community link into the chat. Make sure you drop it up for a little bit after the show. But all of this is with the intention of helping to reverse our diabetes, reverse our metabolic disease. Okay? And so my ask for you is right here, there is a wealth of information. You can be a voice for change for other people in your community and your family and your social settings. You can let them know that there are so many things that we have in place that they can come. And it's on the channel. They can just come, type in my name and the channel comes up and there it is. Okay? So be a disciple, be an evangelist for metabolic health. And then you yourself, when you see the challenges, when you hear this stuff, don't just let this be on the shelf or in the, don't just let it be on the shelf or on the video. You want to make sure that you are implementing and you're doing all of this so that you can set yourself up for the best possibility of success. As I always say, I am excited that you are here, and I'm always excited to be here with you. We will be back as we continue fasting for this week. And then on Saturday, we'll be here with a video from the vault. On Sunday morning at 6 a.m., This Week in Review. And then next week, we'll be right back here for our Dwain Woode MD Live at 7 p.m. Central. Now, 2 weeks from now, I think it's the 10th. And then the week after that, the 17th. Then we won't have a live show. We will have something in place, but I want you to just be mindful of that. This Thursday is our community meetup. So that link will come out. We'll probably post that on Wednesday to get ready. So make sure that if you're not in the community, go ahead and join the community so you can be part of that. It's an amazing time that we get to spend together. We do some coaching, some conversation, find out what's going on in your life. It's great to have the chats, but it's great to also see your faces and hear your voice. Anyway, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And Limitless Living says that we are presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans for our life. We're not allowing anything external to us. No situation, no relationship, no hurt feelings, and nothing from inside. No depression, anxiety, or memories to prevent us from doing what we need to do to be metabolically healthy. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you at our next show. Good night, everybody.